In an era where fame is usually manufactured in a boardroom, a 21-year-old from Wigan has managed to bypass the entire Hollywood system, amassing a digital footprint larger than some of the world's biggest pop icons. But behind the serene smile and the flawless vocals of Lucy Thomas lies a story of strategic silence, a massive reality TV defeat, and a career path so unconventional that it has left industry insiders questioning everything they know about stardom. Tonight, we're looking at how a girl who lost a talent show became the most influential voice of her generation without ever playing the industry's game. They said she wasn't enough to win a trophy, but the public had a very different verdict. It was 2018 when a 14-year-old Lucy Thomas walked onto the stage of The Voice Kids UK. To the casual observer, she was just another talented teen, but the moment she began her rendition of Moon River, it was clear the judges were dealing with something rare. However, the controversy began when the competition reached its climax. Despite being a clear fan favorite, Lucy was eliminated before the final round. At the time, social media erupted. Fans accused the producers of favoring edgier performers over Lucy's classic, refined style. There were rumors that the show's format simply couldn't handle a singer who didn't fit the pop star mold they were trying to sell. But while the winner of that season saw a brief flash of fame before fading, Lucy's loss became her greatest asset. By not being tied to the restrictive contracts often forced upon reality show winners, she was a free agent at the exact moment the world was moving away from traditional TV. The scandal of her loss created a loyal, protective fanbase that felt the industry had turned its back on her, and they were determined to make sure she was heard. This rejection didn't end her career. It shielded her from the typical, one-hit wonder trap that claims so many young artists. But as she stepped away from the cameras, a new mystery began to emerge about who was really pulling the strings behind her sudden rise. The numbers don't lie, but they do tell a story that the mainstream media has tried to ignore. If you look at the YouTube charts, you'll see the usual names: Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, and Ariana Grande. But tucked right alongside them is Lucy Thomas, an independent artist with over 1.5 billion views. To put that in perspective, that's more views than some entire record labels achieve in a decade. How did a girl recording covers in a modest studio in Lancashire manage to trigger a global algorithm? Investigative fans have pointed to the vocal purity factor, a specific frequency in her voice that seems to appeal to an older, wealthier demographic that usually ignores YouTube. But there's a darker side to this success: the constant speculation that these numbers are too good to be true. While no evidence of foul play has ever surfaced, the sheer scale of her reach has led to rumors of massive, undisclosed marketing budgets. Yet, when you look at the comments, the engagement is human, emotional, and intensely personal. This isn't just a viral moment. It's a sustained, multi-year phenomenon. She has managed to weaponize the classical crossover genre in a way that hasn't been seen since the early days of Josh Groban. But the question remains: how much of this was Lucy's vision, and how much was a calculated play by the small, mysterious label that snatched her up after her TV exit? She signed a deal that most experts called a mistake, but it turned into a multi-million-dollar fortress. In the music business, the goal is usually a deal with a big three label: Sony, Universal, or Warner. So when Lucy Thomas signed with the relatively unknown Cavendish Records immediately after her time on The Voice Kids, the industry was baffled. Cavendish isn't a global conglomerate. It's a boutique label that seemed to focus almost exclusively on Lucy. This has led to years of speculation. Some fans have expressed concern that Lucy is in a golden cage, restricted by a label that keeps her away from mainstream collaborations to maintain her pure image. Others argue that Cavendish provided the protection she needed to avoid the burnout that claims so many child stars. Rumors have frequently circulated about disagreements behind the scenes regarding her musical direction, specifically her desire to move into more modern pop territory. For years, her discography was strictly covers, leading to accusations that the label was playing it safe with her talent. Yet, the financial results are undeniable. This partnership has allowed her to bypass the gatekeepers of radio and television entirely. She doesn't need a DJ to play her song when she can reach 10 million people with a single upload. But as she grows older, the tension between her clean image and her desire for creative independence is starting to show cracks. Two sisters, one spotlight, but is there room for both at the top? One of the most engaging aspects of Lucy's career has been the introduction of her younger sister, Martha Thomas. Their duets, such as In the Arms of an Angel, are among the most watched videos on her channel. On the surface, it's a heartwarming story of family talent. However, the internet is a breeding ground for speculation, and many have questioned the long-term viability of this partnership. As Martha has grown older and developed her own distinct vocal style, rumors of a professional rivalry have begun to surface. Will Martha eventually step out of Lucy's massive shadow to launch a solo career, or is she destined to remain the supporting act? Some observers have noted a shift in the way their performances are staged, with Martha taking more lead lines, leading to theories that the label is preparing for a split or a dual-brand strategy. The pressure of being compared to a once-in-a-generation talent like Lucy would be immense for anyone, let alone a sibling. While the sisters appear inseparable in their public appearances, the history of the music industry is littered with sibling acts that crumbled under the weight of fame. For now, the Thomas sisters' brand is a powerhouse, but the question of Martha's independence is a ticking clock that the fans are watching very closely. Moving from a computer screen to the West End stage is a gamble that has destroyed careers before. 2024 and 2025 marked a massive turning point for Lucy. After years of being labeled a YouTube singer, a term often used dismissively by the serious music elite, she finally made the jump to live theater. Taking the title role in Rosie the musical was a high-risk move. If she failed, she would prove the critics right, that her voice only worked with the help of studio magic. But the reviews were a shock to the system. She didn't just survive, she dominated. This transition coincided with her first foray into original pop music. When she released Don't Walk Away, it was a direct challenge to those who said she could only sing show tunes. But this shift hasn't been without controversy. A segment of her older, more conservative fan base has reacted negatively to her modernizing her sound. They want the girl who sings Moon River, not the woman who wants to be on the pop charts. There is a palpable tension between who Lucy was and who she is becoming. As she embarks on her 2025 European tour, the stakes couldn't be higher. This is the moment she either becomes a legacy artist or a footnote in digital history. She's fighting to prove she isn't just a voice, but a brand that can survive without the comfort of a recording studio. In a world where every secret is for sale, her privacy is her most controversial trait. Perhaps the most shocking thing about Lucy Thomas is what we don't know. In an era where most stars share their breakfast, their heartbreaks, and their political views, Lucy is a ghost. She doesn't engage in Twitter wars. She doesn't post "get ready with me" videos. She doesn't have leaked private moments. This level of discipline is unheard of for a Gen Z star. It has led to wild speculation about her real life. Is she as wholesome as her image suggests, or is this a carefully managed shield created by her team to avoid the pitfalls of modern celebrity? There have been whispers of accusations surfacing regarding the strictness of her management, with some claiming she is denied a normal social life to protect her voice. Others see it as a brilliant strategy. By remaining a mystery, she forces the audience to focus entirely on the music. But this silence also makes her vulnerable to rumors. Without a personal narrative to counter the noise, the public fills in the blanks themselves. As she enters her mid-20s, the pressure to open up will only increase. Will she eventually break her silence and reveal the person behind the angel persona, or will she remain the most private, powerful voice in the world? The crown is hers for the taking, but at what cost? Lucy Thomas has achieved what most thought was impossible. She lost a TV show and won the world. She ignored the major labels and built a billion-view empire. She stayed silent in a world that never stops talking. But as she moves into the next phase of her career, the challenges are shifting. It's no longer about being heard. It's about staying relevant in an industry that is constantly looking for the next new thing. She has proven she has the power, but does she have the desire to stay in a spotlight that only gets brighter and more intrusive? One thing is certain. Lucy Thomas isn't just a singer. She's a blueprint for the future of the music industry. Whether she remains on her pedestal or decides to tear it all down and start over, we will be watching. Because in the end, the most powerful thing about Lucy Thomas isn't just her voice. It's her choice to do it